It's me, the one you came to see. Yeah, it's me, the one with all the tea. So lights, camera, action. Yeah, she is the PRC star, making you the main attraction. If there's news you can use or the latest trends, well, baby, you are in. Buckle up and hold on tight. Ethereal has the mic. Yeah, we back outside.
What is good, my people, my peeps? How are you guys doing this afternoon? I hope all is well. So just come on into the classroom. We're going to have a little lesson today. I thought this would be interesting for FBA and what does that actually mean. So we're going to talk about it. Go ahead, as you come in the building, go ahead, get the thumbs up, and I am going to do some housekeeping and make sure that we have sound. Okay, so it's all good. Hello, young Riz, how you doing? Welcome in. So we're going to be talking about FBA really quick because there's so many lies that are being established and trying to be honed in and solidified, if you will, as the truth. Okay, and if you don't do any research, you will not. You will go off of whoever knucklehead that's lying out here about FBA and the reason behind FBA, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to use my assistant today. Also, we're going to use ChatGPT, okay? So like I said, as you come to the building, go ahead, get the thumbs up, and support the stream. You can go ahead and also share this live stream out, if you will. That will also help get the word out. So Young Riz says, I've been knowing, I knew FBA is a bloodline since 2016. Awesome, that's good. Well, you know, as for me, you've known before me, Young Riz, because I did not know about FBA, but I have always inquired about my bloodline and where, you know, my people have come from, where they originated from, and I knew for several centuries that we have been here. Okay, more than several centuries. And I also knew by my bloodline and my birth certificate saying Negro on it, and also by my mother telling us that we were Cherokee, and we had family members that were also brought over by the slave ships and dropped off, and one of them landed in Pennsylvania by the name of Hannah. So I know for a fact that my bloodline makes me also indigenous to the Americas. And so this is where a lot of people are getting upset. And what's ironic, this is the crazy thing, it's the Afro, well, you know, we don't know what to call y'all now. The Puerto Ricans, stand up. I'm calling out the roll, okay? Are y'all ready? Class is in session. We're going to talk about the FBA and these people who are mad, okay? They're big mad. Okay, I need the Puerto Ricans to stand up. Raise your hand if you're in the class, okay? Panamanians, stand up. Just raise your hand if you're in the class. I need Dominicans. Raise your hand if you're in the class present today, okay? I also need the Ghanaians. Raise your hand if you're present. And some of the Africans is tripping too. A lot of the Africans is tripping. Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break it down, because these people that are coming over that I just named, and the white and some white people too. You put them on. Some white people, most likely racist. Y'all go ahead, raise your hand if you're in the class, baby. So we got these people who are mad. They sitting at the front of the class. I need them to move to the front seat of the classroom, okay? And then we're just gonna get into it. Like I was about to say, I don't know if I said it. I will be using my assistant, ChatGPT, along with helping people to understand about the FBA and what the movement really is about. It's okay. So let's just get you some perspective on some people, and they're upset. But I love to. I want to bring up Paul Moody. A lot of you guys might not know of Paul Moody. He's a comedian, passed away several years ago. And he used to have a joke because we knew, and I've been knowing for many a years that Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, they will come to America and reap the benefits, right, from the Civil War, civil marches, right, but then turn around and say, "Me no black, me no black." And so Paul Moody had a stand-up show, and he kind of poked at how we as Black Americans had always welcomed them in, right, open arms, but they always said, "Me no black." So this is Paul Moody, y'all, really quick.
Cubans ain't nothing but black folks that can swim. Africans, I can't stand Africans. I don't like Africans. Because they have attitude. They have attitude towards us, and they act like they're mad at us. You got it twisted. We are mad at you. We waited, and nobody came for us. You punk motherfuckers. Any other race would have declared war on America and asked for their people back. Africans wrote us off like a bad check. And then they gonna show up 400 years later with a briefcase full of watches. I don't need no goddamn watch. I know what time it is.
Hello. This was many years ago. We always, even Paul Moody made jokes, because they always, "Me no black." He said, "Y'all ain't nothing but, black folks that can speak a Spanish." But this has been going on, but they are mad. They are big mad, okay? Because Black Americans, indigenous Black Americans are delineating. They are saying no more. Because we get lumped into a group, and it's known as black, a color, right? And we get lumped into this group of immigrants that have come over, and they may be 1 or 2 generations in to America and benefit off of what indigenous and Black Americans have fought for, but then want to separate themselves on top of that, okay? So let's see what a Puerto Rican had to say.
They are their cultural identity. Here's this guy right here saying that
Hold on for a minute.
I don't know why African Americans are so angry at the fact that Puerto Ricans are proud of who they are, of their cultural identity. Here's this guy right here saying that Puerto Ricans are supposedly so proud, but we live under the boot of America. Is that true? No, that's actually false. It's a euphemism in order to discourage us out of feeling pride for our culture. But you know who is living and who remains living under the boot of America? Black Americans. Take into account that in the 1800s, almost 40 or 50 years before slavery was abolished, Republicans founded the American Colonization Society to offer people of African descent to head back to Africa, their motherland. The majority of them chose to remain under the heel of white Americans as slaves.
It gets to a point. What Black American is thinking about Puerto Ricans? I think they're doing this after the Bad Bunny Super Bowl performance, which they saying we hating on them and we so jealous. And I'm like, no, I didn't even watch it. I saw clips and I didn't understand what he was saying, and I just wasn't entertained by it. That doesn't mean I was hating or Black Americans are hating because he was Puerto Rican. We don't speak Spanish, and we don't. That his music is just not my cup of tea. And if y'all want to go there, I saw this video, and I'm so grateful to this creator. I gotta think of what her name is. I'm gonna try. Once I figure it out, I'll type it in the comments. She told us where the Super Bowl halftime originated. And do you know that it was Black Americans who created the idea, the notion of a
Now, let me let her finish.
halftime show? In Living Color, the Wayans brothers
Right.
was the first people to have a segment.
They didn't have a segment. Black folks is the foundation of everything creative that y'all want to take and don't want to give back credit to. Okay? So I want to speak to what Paul Moody has said about at the end when he said he didn't like African people because they didn't get on boats, ships, canoe to come get their people. And the thing is, we are not the same people. Even in Africa, the largest continent on this earth, they are not the same people. You probably get slapped in the head if you go to Nigeria and say you are Ghanaian. They are not the same people, but they have what? Melanated skin. Okay, we gonna get to understand this. So what Paul Moody was saying, he was putting us all as one, saying, you know, the little racial white supremacy talking points when they say, well, your people sold you into slavery. Our people did not sell us into slavery. Our people were sold into slavery by other nations of people, tribal people in Africa. Okay? Those are the people. But see, back then and even now, you all want to, welcome in Vita Boogie, you all want to swipe us and put us in one box, in one category, to keep us from proclaiming our nation and who we are as a people. And you want, just like white supremacy and all other nations and the people who sold us into slavery knew that we were not their people. They didn't sell their own people. That's why there was no boats coming to get us. And I want to go into what this Puerto Rican was saying, talking about when he was speaking on when the Ghanaian said that they can come back to Africa. Where were the blacks, indigenous black people were supposed to go? See, that's what they forget. That's why we must delineate now. You might say indigenous black people. Yes, they were indigenous black people to this country you call as America. Before even the first slave ship came over here, it was black people standing on the shores of America. Okay? And they were indigenous. You know, Columbus called them Indians. Okay, we're going to get into that today. As you come in the building, go ahead and get the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, okay? So this Puerto Rican gentleman talks about he doesn't understand why they can be in America and say they're Puerto Rican and be so proud to be Puerto Rican. And, you know, you could have went back to Africa. He lets this come out of his mouth while he's standing on the banks of American soil. Huh? Yeah, you heard me. He says this as he's standing on United States soil where black, indigenous, and enslaved and descendants from slave peoples that were in slavery fought for this Americas. No Puerto Ricans was in the fight. They wasn't in the fight. They weren't the majority ones enslaved here in the Americas. But he can wear his fitted hat, his New York shirt, and say, well, why didn't they go back to America? Why are you here in America? Talking big noise. And so I want to address this young lady too when she said why they're mad because Big Bunny, a rapper, singer, whatever, they had the halftime show. You know, everybody gets a chance to have the halftime show. They don't get paid, but it's big business, right? It's about advertisement and all of that. So Puerto Ricans were saying black people were mad because Big Bunny was doing the halftime show. But the halftime show, we always got to educate people that ride on the backs of everything black folks them brought into. You wouldn't even have a halftime show, Puerto Ricans. For you to be, when you was talking big noise about Bad Bunny and how blacks was mad. You wouldn't even have a halftime show if it was not for In Living Color. Huh? You can do what you want to do in living color. That was a TV show by the Wayans brothers, black brothers and sisters. But the creators of that show were black Americans. And when the halftime, when y'all had that football, we're going to get into why you're here today. Go ahead and double tap that screen. I got to just break some things down. Okay? While the NFL had their football games, There was no halftime show in sight. None. While in Living Colors, these brothers that had to scrape up money just to do shows and put on their own production and got onto TV with their comedy show in Living Color. Everybody else, they would watch the halftime would be bands, marching bands, marching bands, boring stuff. People, the ratings would plummet when the halftime came. But in Living Color chose to continue. They thought they was gonna play in Living Color. They thought they was gonna play black folk, right? They thought they was gonna play them by having their show still run at, it's prime time. It's different daytime, nighttime slots that are prime time. But in Living Color said, no, we're gonna play our show. And while they played and continued on with a Living Color, a black-owned operated, a black foundational-owned operated, the people that were watching the football game, the NFL, the majority of them did not return to finish watching the game because they started watching in Living Color. And the company, the corporations went into the books, they went into the your analytics, and said, what happened? Where did the people go? They went to go watch the black people, as you always do. For entertainment, cultural guidance, you went to watch the black people. So that the corporations realized, let's do what they did. Let's incorporate lively entertainment. And what have you? They stole again, okay? They colonized again, and they took what In Living Color was doing, and bingo bango, you now have the halftime show. Y'all need to give it up for black folks around this camp, okay? All right? And I'm talking about indigenous, black African Americans. We not two continents. We're not doing that no more. Okay? We not two damn continents. That's where your halftime show comes from. So as you come in the building, go ahead. Let me check the audio. Go ahead, get the thumbs up so we can get into this conversation. And share the live. Share the live, okay? Conversation. All right, we're still cooking with grease. You all had jokes to do. What? Jobs to do. We all had jobs to do. Yeah, build up America. That y'all hate for us to even say. Y'all hate to even know that black Americans build up this place. Okay, but anyway, we're gonna keep moving. We're in class, and I already took roll call. Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Panamanians, Ghanaians, and white folks. That is prejudice. Come on to the front of the class, take your seats. And everybody else fill in the back, okay? Okay, class is in session. I have 2 more videos that I want to play before we're gonna go to my assistant. All right? Videos that I want. Okay, so making sure we want class to run smoothly. Double tap your screen as you come in the building. My name is E'Thereal, and I'm your host.
Because we haven't been officially classified as a nationality. African American is not a nationality. Black is not a nationality. So you can't give reparations to people who don't have an official nationality. A flag, a constitution, and you have a seat at the UN. You know what I'm saying? We can't give reparations.
Say it again.
We haven't been officially classified as a nationality. African American is not a nationality. Black is not a nationality. So you can't give reparations to people who don't have an official nationality. A flag, a constitution.
Okay? You hear that? And see, the thing is, the trick bag that they have constantly put us in is they have constantly changed our nationality. Okay? And what is pissing us off, while, all these peoples, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Ghanaians, racial white folk, Panamanians. What's pissing them off is they feel like they can come over to America and, go out in the streets of America and proclaim, I'm Panamanian. And then on the other hand, when it fits them, oh, I'm black, I'm with y'all. Or if a crime happens, oh, that was black, I'm black, so it can be tagged as a group, so you can always hear black on black dumbass crime, right? Half of them probably Panamanian, Dominicans, Ghanaians, what? Puerto Ricans. But you'll hear them say, oh, them black folks out there doing black on black crime. No, we're going to delineate today, you see. But when it's something good, y'all want to say, oh, I want to shout out my Puerto Rican family. Huh?
Hold up now, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being so dead ass. Gatekeepers of blackness will extend the branch of blackness to everyone but the people who are black. So they trying to tell me, because my mom is Haitian, I'm not black. Like crazy. But they will call biracials black. They will put black on Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, and they scream loud and proud they aren't black.
Hello,
But
we
you're
know.
trying to tell Haitians. Mind you, Haiti was the first black nation. You're trying to tell Haitians, Nigerians, Jamaicans, and etc. we're not black.
We not trying to tell y'all that. And we know Haitians fought and helped for black so-called rights, if you will. But we not going down that history. But the Haitians, you not on my list today. It's these other ones that's on the list, okay, that will go out into the streets and proclaim, let them win a championship, let them get the, get to be placed on the halftime. They Puerto Ricans. They shout out where they come from. We got a couple more. Let's listen to these two white men have a conversation.
Got a call from the Foundation of Black American Society here in Florida, who reminded me that Byron's mother is Jamaican, he is Panamanian, and they found it quite insulting, in their words, that he would try to claim victimhood of slavery as a single descendant of American slaves in his family. I like those foundational guys. They're so good. Nasheed and all. I mean, I don't agree with everything, but they've got a perspective. If your family's been here 400 years, and the descendants of a lot of American slaves, their families have been here 400 years. I don't know. I think that gives. I'll listen to you. You guys, you've got a point of view that is legitimate, I think.
Yeah, and they're unequivocally heritage Americans.
That's for sure. 100%. They're definitely heritage Americans, if anyone is.
It's a very interesting term that the Foundation of Black Americans use. It's called a tether. They're tethering these tethers like Byron Donalds. They come here literally one generation in, trying to just sit around and act so folksy that we're all part of the same struggle and we're all down on our, and we need to fight against. No, you just got here, dude. And so it's good to actually see them call them out for that. That's actually cultural appropriation.
That's actually a cultural appropriation. Y'all out here trying to appropriate something. Okay? Let me get to my assistant. Go ahead, get the thumbs up. So while you out here, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Ghanaians, okay, and you racial white people that's mad because y'all kept trying to hide who we really are. That's why y'all on the list. Not because you proud to be white. I don't care if you're proud to be white. We proud to be indigenous black Americans. Hallelujah. Okay, so I don't care about you being proud to be white. You better have several seats when you try to tell us who the hell we are. Just like these Puerto Ricans, these Dominicans, and they've been saying they ain't me no black. But let's go down history, because while they over here try to be mad about what, a little interruption, while they mad at indigenous black Americans and what they're doing by delineating through FBA or whatever we choose to call it, you understand? We taking the reins. We taking the wheel. You understand? Y'all don't have no horse in this fight at all. So y'all sit back and be happy when you walk in the streets of New York talking about you Puerto Rican, Dominican, Ghanaian. You can separate yourself up, then be happy. Stretch your ass and be glad, okay? So, let me bring my assistant up here. I asked my assistant about FBA. Let's talk about America and the different cultures that came here. Have you ever heard any Puerto Ricans claim, or has it been pushed that they are not black and they are only Puerto Rican? Let's see how y'all been doing up in America, you know, Puerto Ricans. Let's start with you all first. Okay, get the thumbs up.
There's a documented history of Puerto Ricans saying essentially, I am Puerto Rican, not black, or treating Puerto Rican identity as distinct from the U.S. black-white racial categories. But there is an important distinction. That does not mean all Puerto Ricans deny African ancestry, and it doesn't mean Puerto Rican and black are mutually exclusive identities. In fact, I found some very strong historical documentation. 1. This was explicitly said in the United States. In a 1968 U.S. Commission on Civil Rights publication, an article about Puerto Ricans in New York used the heading, El Puertorriqueño, no more, no less. It quoted a Puerto Rican saying, open quote, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm not in between, I'm Puerto Rican, close quote. That Puerto Rican cultural identity was more important to him than the American black-white racial framework. So if you're asking, has a Puerto Rican person actually been documented saying that? Yes, absolutely. The census research found the same attitude in Puerto Rico. This gets even more interesting. The U.S. Census Bureau conducted focus groups in Puerto Rico about racial identification. Participants repeatedly said that they had been taught that Puerto Ricans were a mixture of Spanish, indigenous Indian, and African ancestry, but they didn't necessarily consider themselves black. One participant essentially said, open quote, I am coffee with milk. Explained that Puertorriqueño was the appropriate identity and specifically distinguished it from being black African. The census research also found that some Puerto Ricans view Puerto Rican almost like a racial identity of its own, rather than simply an ethnicity nationality layered onto a racial category.
Really?
And researchers identified something particularly important, the stigma associated with identifying as black in Puerto Rico.
Oh, really? Oh, they didn't want to identify. Okay.
So automatically non-black.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we have to be precise. The United States Census treats Puerto Rican as an ethnicity origin, not a race. A Puerto Rican person can simultaneously be black, white, indigenous, Native American, mixed, multiracial, or another racial identification. The census explicitly defines Hispanic Latino origin as including Puerto Rican origin, while race is asked separately. And there are absolutely Afro-Puerto Ricans who identify as black.
We know.
For example,
they cool.
Research on Puerto Rican racial identity describes the tension very directly. Puerto Rican identity has historically sometimes been constructed as non-black, even though Puerto Rican society has substantial African ancestry in an
We know. That's why we call them black.
4.
That's why we call them brothers and sisters.
FBA question.
But they tripping.
There is actually a very interesting difference between ancestry, ethnicity, nationality, and racial identity here. Someone can say, I'm Puerto Rican. That tells you their national, ethnic, cultural identity. It does not by itself tell you their complete genetic ancestry. A Puerto Rican family can have African,
we know, honey,
indigenous Caribbean ancestry, and still have family members who sincerely identify primarily as Puerto Rican, rather than black.
Oh, no, we
The
know.
reverse happens too. I'm Afro-Puerto Rican. That person is saying, Puerto Rican is my cultural national identity, and black African is also part of my racial ancestral identity. The census research actually documents Puerto Ricans wrestling with precisely this problem, because the conventional American racial boxes don't always correspond neatly to how Puerto Ricans understand themselves. So yes, your premise has historical documentation. There really have been Puerto Ricans who explicitly rejected the label black and insisted, I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah, me no
I
black.
want to take this into the FBA question.
Yeah, we gonna
The
get there.
fascinating question is, when a Puerto Rican person with substantial African ancestry says, I'm Puerto Rican, ancestry versus ethnicity versus the specific historical population of U.S. foundational black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the terminology gets very interesting.
I know it do. I know it do. That's why we're here to have this conversation. But I see in the chat somebody think they know my life talk about, but now you on the FBA train, but you don't like black men. That's all I had. For 18 years I was married, 20 together. My child is a black son. What the hell? Who is this? What are you, a moderator? What is you, a moderator? You mustn't think you know me. Black is beautiful, baby. All day, every day. Ain't never. The Negro. Huh? Okay, let's keep it pushing. You better understand something today. Let's go. Right? Let's get it. Audio is off. Hold on. Let me see. Let me check. Let me check. Where to get cut off at? They don't want you to... Uh-oh, hold on. They don't want you to get this lesson. Hold on. Let me run it back to make sure we good. As I'm doing this, go ahead, get thumbs up. Okay, I hear it. Go ahead, get the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. We're going to keep going. So Puerto Ricans, you can't be in America talking big noise. You can't be here talking all that, you bump your gums. You need to figure out what's going on over in Puerto Rico. Why don't you go back to Puerto Rico and figure out who is who? Why y'all have a class system there? Why y'all don't like the dark-skinned Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico? Why y'all worried about American business? Huh? Why y'all worried about American business, Puerto Ricans? I'm talking to the ones who don't like a black guy, don't want to claim blackness, don't want to say I'm, you know, what they call it. They try to split it up, Afro, black, Puerto Rican, black. However y'all, some of y'all, we're not talking to y'all. We're not talking to these races that you know, stay in their lane and understand the game. We're not talking to y'all. We talking to the ones that been around here for years, talking about they ain't me no black. Okay? That's who we talking to. Panamanian. Let's go who I got up next. Okay, let's see who I got up next. Y'all go. While y'all all over here, our business, Puerto Rico still got issues. Puerto Rico still got issues. Now, you can be in the chat, but don't get put on time out or kicked out of the chat just talking about something that we not even on, honey. We talking about why they mad. We talking about FBA. Okay? Let's stay focused. Some of y'all got attention deficits. In Puerto Rico, do they divide other by caste? Y'all know what a caste system is, right? The caste system is the fact that you light skin, you dark skin, how bright your skin is. You know what I'm saying? Caste system. Do they in Puerto Rico? Do they do that? By the color of their skin, the darker Puerto Ricans separate from the lighter Puerto Ricans, and you know, so on and so on. Afro, Negro, do they separate themselves over there in Puerto Rico? Huh? I want to know, assistant, I need you to holler back at me, ChatGPT. All right, let's get it. Oh, hold on. Let me turn it up so y'all can hear.
Yes, there is a real color-based social hierarchy in Puerto Rico, and researchers have documented Puerto Ricans distinguishing one another by skin color, hair texture, facial features, according to their appearance. And yes, darker people can experience discrimination. This is not just an old historical claim. A study using Puerto Rico data found that colorism significantly affects dark-skinned Puerto Ricans. The researchers found that skin color was actually a better predictor of some health disparities than the conventional U.S. racial ethnic categories. Another study in southeastern Puerto Rico specifically classified Negro and Negro, and found that the Negro category was socially stigmatized, particularly in higher socioeconomic settings.
What you say?
Described Blanco as a socially esteemed and can sometimes function as a softer or euphemistic designation for someone who might otherwise be considered black. But here's an important distinction about your Afro-Negro question. Yes, there are Puerto Ricans who deliberately identify as black Afro-Puerto Rican, and this is significant because it represents a counter-movement against the older idea that Puerto Ricans are simply a racially mixed people and therefore shouldn't identify as black. Rather than attempting to move away from black identity, whitening. The study describes
Whitening?
Ricans maintaining black identity.
Y'all whitening y'all skin over there in Puerto Rico. But all up in our business.
Likewise describes people who identify themselves
themselves as Afro-Puerto Rican/African descendant, and says that this identification exists against a long-standing Puerto Rican national narrative, emphasizing mixture and sometimes minimizing blackness. So you actually have two things happening simultaneously. Social hierarchy, open quote, lighter, blanco, socially advantageous, intermediate, trigueño moreno, ambiguous intermediate, darker, negro prieto, gray, close quote. Black affirmation movement, open quote, I am black, Afro-Puerto Rican. African ancestry is part of who we are, close quote. That's a very important distinction, and it connects directly to the question you were asking me before. Puerto Rican identity and black identity have historically been treated as competing identities by some Puerto Ricans, while Afro-Puerto Rican activists have explicitly challenged that idea. If you want, I can go a step deeper and show you how Puerto Rican color
Yeah, baby. Hey, I'm gonna keep up. You all hang here with me. You know how they do it. My mic test. 1 2 1 2. The powers that be don't want this to go on, y'all. They keep cutting the live stream, and I'm just gonna keep doing it. And I'm taking screenshots because I'm sending this to. Mic test. 1 2 1 2. Sending this to YouTube. Powers that be don't want this to go on. As my proof, they interrupted the live. What, 6 times? But yeah, about 6 times. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna do this all day, and I'm gonna send the proof to YouTube. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So look here. We stopped with the Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Ricans, y'all have problems over there in Puerto Rico, honey. Y'all got problems in Puerto Rico, but y'all trying to tell us what to do? Y'all trying to be mad because black Americans, indigenous to this land, said we delineating? Are you serious? Come on now. Come on. I just want to say straight up and down, if the live gets cut off, y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned. They done dropped this live 3 times, or 3 to 4, 6 times. Shoot. How many times y'all see me talking in the chat? That's how many times they kept dropping the live stream, okay? So, but we're going to keep it going. So Puerto Ricans have several seats, especially the ones that talking noise about us delineating, okay? About us delineating. You ain't got no horse in the race. All right, so we're going to go back. As you come to the building, go ahead, get the thumbs up, and stay tuned. I probably will get kicked out this live. They have been doing it, but I've taken screenshots so I can report it to YouTube. See what's up. All right, so Puerto Ricans, let's go. Let's go to my dog assistant. We going down the line. I already did roll call. Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, Dominican, Ghanaian, and racist white folks that don't want us to delineate. They got an issue. Come up to the front, my boys and my gals. Come up to the front of the class. We breaking it down today. Puerto Ricans, muzzle your mouth. Just put a muzzle on it, okay? Because we already see your own homeland, in your own homeland, and over here trying to tell us what to do as black Americans, indigenous to this land. All right? So we already see that y'all divide yourselves. Let's keep going. I'm going to G to the P to the T. All right? All right. What about Panamanians? Do they consider themselves black, or do they still have some kind of caste system? You know, do they go by skin color over there in Panama? You know, do they have racism over there amongst themselves? Okay. I need to know, ChatGPT, because they over here in America want to say they Panamanian one minute, want to say they black the next minute, only when it's suits going on over there and how they feel. Get the thumbs up, thumbs up, up. Let's go. Oh, hold on. I think I got to turn it down. As you come to the building, get the thumbs up. My name is E'Thereal. E'Thereal. Or you can call me E. All right?
Yes, Panama is actually a very interesting comparison to Puerto Rico, and there are strong similarities. But Panama has an additional complication. There are historically two major black populations whose identities developed differently. 1. Panama absolutely had a colonial racial hierarchy. During Spanish colonial rule, Panama had racial categories distinguishing Europeans, indigenous people, and Africans, with people of African descent generally occupying the lowest position in the colonial hierarchy. Over time, however, a lot of mestizo and Negro. Importantly, these weren't simply categories. Appearance and skin color could affect
We're back. We're back. They keep cutting the stream. Report this to YouTube, y'all. But I'm documenting it in the live chat.
We're back. We're back.
All right. I'm documenting and screenshotting it in the live chat that they have. How many times I have talked in this live chat is how many times, baby, they have dropped the live stream. No joke, no joke. Report it to YouTube that they are dropping your favorite content creator and you are not allowed to get the message. They are trying to censor my voice. Report it. Report it, report it, report it. Okay, so we're on the Panamanians, y'all. Okay, here we go. Let's start over with the Panamanians, matter of fact. We're going to ride this out till it finishes. As many times as they drop, as many times I'm going to keep coming back on here to show the proof of them interrupting the live stream. Okay? Get your thumbs up, double tap the screen. Double tap the screen. I appreciate everyone who is coming in and out to see this message. Class is in session. Let's hear about these Panamanians.
A decade is a period of
Oh, no, not that. We ain't there yet. Wrong one. Hold on. Hold on. I forgot. I have to get a cue back up to where we was at. Hold on. Let me see. Get it back cue to where we were at. All right. We were talking about Puerto Ricans. Y'all have several seats. Y'all need to figure it out in your own homeland with your own racism and classism y'all got going over there. But let's see about these Panamanians, what's going on, because they're over here.
Panama is actually a very interesting comparison to Puerto Rico.
Tripping.
And there are strong similarities. But Panama has an additional complication.
What?
There are historically two major black populations whose identities developed differently. 1. Panama absolutely had a colonial racial hierarchy.
What?
During Spanish colonial rule, Europeans, indigenous people, and Africans.
Okay.
With people of African descent generally occupying the lowest position in the colonial hierarchy.
Oh, that's why they say me no black.
Categories such as mulatto, mestizo, moreno, and negro. Apparently, these weren't simply ancestry categories. Appearance and skin color could affect which category somebody was placed into.
Okay.
So yes, there was a color-class hierarchy.
Look at that.
Again, I would call it a racial caste-like hierarchy or color hierarchy, rather than saying modern Panama has a formal caste system.
They still had a hierarchy of color.
Interesting part. Some black Panamanians historically said, essentially, I'm Panamanian, not black.
I know, we heard them right here on these internet streets.
Afro-colonial Panamanians. These are black Panamanians whose ancestry goes back to the Spanish colonial period. Because they had been in Panama for generations and were culturally Hispanic, many emphasized Panamanian nationality and Spanish heritage rather than black identity. Afro-Antillean West Indian Panamanians. These are largely descendants of Black Caribbean migrants from places Jamaica and Barbados who came to Panama in connection with the railroad and canal era labor. They were much more likely to retain a Black West Indian African Caribbean identity.
Good for them.
One scholar describes this as two different forms of Panamanian Blackness developing within the same country.
What, in the same country?
Especially relevant to what you're asking.
Panama? Okay.
Panama actually developed an ideology that Blackness was foreign. During Panamanian nation building, particularly around the late 19th and early 20th centuries, mestizaje became part of the national ideology.
Really?
The message was essentially, open quote, we're all mixed. We're Panamanians. Race shouldn't divide us. Close quote sounds inclusive on the surface, but
Yeah.
researchers have found that this
What they
ideology
find?
could actually push Blackness out of the definition of Panamanian identity.
What?
The canal period made this even more complicated.
Oh my God.
U.S. authorities operated a segregated labor system,
Uh-huh.
and Black West Indian workers were placed in the segregated silver workforce.
I
This
see.
contributed to Blackness becoming associated with foreign West Indian laborers, rather than being recognized as an indigenous part of Panamanian national identity.
Oh,
So
wait.
you get something very unusual.
Yeah.
Black people who had been in Panama for centuries could distinguish themselves from newer Black Caribbean immigrants by saying, essentially, we're Panamanian.
Uh-huh.
Researchers specifically
What?
describe tensions between Afro-Hispanics and West Indians, despite both populations sharing African ancestry.
Okay. I mean,
But Panama has been changing.
this
This is
is...
where I would not say that Panamanians
Ooh, y'all.
today simply reject being Black. Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Afro-Panamanian identity has become much more openly asserted. The 2023 census found that 31.7% of Panama's population self-identified as Afro-descendant.
Good for
compared
them.
with only 9.2% in the 2010 census.
Mm.
The dramatic increase was partly connected to efforts by Afro-Panamanian organizations and the government to improve racial self-identification in the census. There is now an official National Secretariat for the Development of Afro-Panamanians, SENADAP, and Afro-Panamanian organizations have spent decades challenging the idea that racial mixture means racism and Black identity no longer matter. So we put Puerto Rico and Panama beside each other. Puerto Rico, Panama, African ancestry. Extensive colonial racial hierarchy, yes. Colorism, yes. Puerto Rican Panamanian rather than Black, documented, very strongly documented.
Very strongly.
Understand socially advantageous, yes. Yes, Black identity exists. Afro-identity movement, yes, increasingly strong. Internal distinctions among Black populations, yes, especially pronounced. And there's one huge
That don't
difference
make
I
no
think
damn
we
sense.
find.
That don't make
Panama's
no
Black
sense.
population itself became divided between Afro-colonial and Afro-Antillean. That means you can have Black people separating themselves from other Black people
Really?
based on when their ancestors arrived, language,
Oh.
culture, nationality, and whether they considered themselves Panamanian first.
Really?
That's very different from simply saying Black people in Panama don't want to be Black.
Right. They delineated.
Reality
Get
is
out of
more
here.
complicated and
Go
frankly
ahead.
more interesting.
Uh-huh.
If you want, I can next take Puerto Rico, Panama, Dominican Republic.
Oh, we getting it all, baby.
Colombia, and show you how each society developed its own Black-white mixed color hierarchy.
Oh, we
and
gonna
how
get
people
it.
with African ancestry came to identify themselves differently in each country.
Right. We gonna get to it. We gonna get to it. So you mean to tell me over there in Panama, y'all delineated? Huh? Do you mean to tell me over in Panama they delineated, and then they on top of that still got racism towards each other over there? But y'all delineated in Panama, but y'all got every nerve. I mean every nerve to talk about FBA delineating from y'all asses. Did you hear Panama? They delineated because they said them Indians came over and when they was working in that Panama Canal and they started classifying us as lower workers like the Indians that came over. So call us Panamanian. That's what y'all did over there in Panamania. You delineated. You wanted to be called Panamanian because you didn't want to be associated because you're dark skinned. You didn't want to be associated with them Indians of India. They came over, you know, the Indians of India. They got dark skin, that melanin, dark hair straight. You know them Indians from India. Came over there helping to build the Panama Canal. But then they got classed as lower, you know, in the lower realms of the, society. Huh? But y'all Panamanians, y'all dark-skinned Panamanians, y'all didn't even want to be classified, because they dark-skinned, you dark-skinned. Oh, no, they new to our land. Huh? So you didn't say you want to be, nigger. You didn't say you want to be Afro-nigger. Some of y'all did. Big ups to some of y'all. Some of y'all left y'all heritage behind and said you wanted to be known as Panamanian. Oh, we finding out the truth about you backstabbing Panamanians and Puerto Ricans say me no black. Go back to your country and figure out what's going on over there. And y'all delineated over there, and you had a mitigated gall to try to say with indigenous black people, huh? People that's been here for over 400 years. You have the gall to try to get in this, to have a voice in this fight? You don't have a voice. Your voice, you need to save it for Panama. Your voice, Puerto Ricans, we done already talked to y'all. Your voice, you need to save it for Puerto Rico. You don't have no say-so over here in America with anybody saying they FBA. You understand? Because you delineated over there in Panama. Panamanians. You ain't got no say what go on over here in America when it comes to indigenous black folks and their parents and their ancestors been here for over 400. You ain't got no say in the battle. Sit your asses down. Let's continue. Oh, yes, we got to see about these Dominicans, me no black. You know, but over here they say they black, they want to hang and party in the streets. As soon as somebody win an award, I want to shout out to the Dominicans. Oh, what happened to you was black one minute, but then it came to me no black. Oh, you black when you over there cutting up in the streets of America. All these crimes y'all got going on in the streets of America. But as soon as you win an Oscar or something, I want to shout out my Dominicans, you know, my Puerto Ricans, Panamanians. Oh, no, we delineating today. And you don't got nothing to say. Comprende? Let's see what's up with these Dominican, what they been doing over there in their country and how they treat each other.
The Dominican Republic is probably one of the clearest examples of the phenomenon you're asking about. There is substantial historical and academic evidence that many Dominicans have not traditionally defined themselves as black or Negro, even when they have substantial African ancestry.
Ain't that
The
something?
Dominican identity has
They
sometimes
denying
been
it too.
contrasted with blackness, particularly with Haitian and in some contexts,
Ooh.
U.S. African American identity. But there's an important distinction. Dominican and black have not always been treated as mutually exclusive, and attitudes are changing.
I
The
bet they
Dominican
are.
racial system is different from America's side. Historically, Dominican society developed a much more graduated color system rather than the American black-white binary. You see terms such as blanco, white, indio, a Dominican term historically used for people considered mixed intermediate rather than literally indigenous, moreno, brown dark, trigueño, lighter brown, mulatto, mixed, African European, negro, black, prieto.
Another color system.
The interesting thing is that Indio,
Dominican, y'all ought to be
can
shamed.
allow someone with visible African ancestry to describe themselves as something other than black.
Really?
It's found that the Dominican use of Indio is not generally a claim of actual Taino ancestry. It became a racial color category of its own.
Really?
And yes, there was a strong, we are not black national narrative.
Right.
This is probably the strongest part of what you're asking. Historical Dominican nationalism developed a concept of Dominican identity that emphasized Spanish plus Catholic plus Hispanic plus mixed, while contrasting that identity with Africans, Haitian plus black. One historical analysis describes Dominican elites as sometimes portraying themselves as dark-skinned but not black, while associating blackness specifically with Haiti. In that formulation, being Dominican became associated with being Hispanic rather than black. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has likewise documented how colonial racial ideas and anti-Haitianism contributed to the denial or concealment of African ancestry in Dominican society. And this is crucial. Anti-Haitianism and anti-blackness became intertwined because Haiti was constructed in Dominican nationalist thought as the black African other. So did they separate themselves from black Americans? Yes, there is evidence of that distinction, but we need to phrase it carefully. Dominicans who immigrated to the United States often discovered that Americans were looking at them through the U.S. racial system. A major study of Dominican immigrants found something fascinating. Question: Dominican response, how do you define yourself racially? Black, 6.6%, Hispanic, 27.5%, Indio, Dominican, 12.8%, when forced into white, black, other, 8%. How do you think Americans classify you? Black, 36.9%. So there was a huge gap between how some Dominicans saw themselves and
Look
how
at
most
this.
Americans saw them.
Look at
It's
this.
extremely relevant.
Somebody come look at
A
this.
Dominican could essentially be saying, open quote, I'm Dominican.
Uh-huh.
I'm Indio, Moreno, Mulatto.
Everything but. Everything but black.
American might look at that same person and say, open quote,
You're black.
You're black.
That's what we say.
That's because the two societies develop different racial classifications.
Exactly, we
And
know.
there's another layer.
Uh-huh.
Negro versus Black American.
Right.
The word Negro itself doesn't necessarily carry exactly the same meaning in the Dominican Republic.
We know they know Negro.
Contemporary American racial identity.
Uh-huh.
Someone might describe a person's skin color as Negro without necessarily saying, open quote, this person.
That's because
belongs to the Black
they
ethnic
being
group, close
racist.
quote. That's one of the things researchers mean when they say Dominican racial categories often describe appearance without functioning as fixed ethno-racial identities
We
in the
know.
American sense. So a Dominican might acknowledge he's Negro while simultaneously maintaining we're Dominican, not African American.
Exactly.
Those are not necessarily contradictory within the Dominican racial framework. But something is changing.
What is
This
it?
frozen in the past. The Dominican Republic's 2022 census actually allowed people to identify their ethnic racial category. Among people aged 12 plus, the reported categories included approximately 34.2% Indio A, 26.1% Moreno A, 18.7% white, 7.5% black, 3% mulatto A, 7.7% mestizo A. So only about 75%
7.7%. Lord have mercy.
That is exactly why scholars talk about
Shut
identification of blackness in the Dominican
Yo,
Republic.
Dominican ass up too.
At the same time,
You hear me?
there is a growing Afro-Dominican movement that is explicitly reclaiming African ancestry and black identity.
Claim it over there in Dominican.
Summarizes research showing that Dominican immigrants, particularly in the United States, have increasingly moved from identifying as Indio toward mulatto Afro-descendant and some embracing their African heritage much more openly.
I bet they are.
Now compare the three we've discussed. Puerto Rico, open quote, I'm Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican isn't necessarily black. Close quote, Panama, open quote, I'm Panamanian. There are different black populations and some distinctions between Afro-Panamanians and West Indian Antillean people. Close quote. Dominican Republic, open quote, I'm Dominican. I may be dark, Moreno, Indio, Trigueño, or mixed, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm black. And historically, blackness became heavily associated with Haiti. Close quote. And that last one is particularly powerful because Dominican nationalism sometimes defined itself not simply as we are not African American, but more fundamentally as we are not Haitian black. So if you're looking at this from an FBA perspective, there's a legitimate historical question to investigate.
Yeah,
Why
we
did so
can.
many societies in the Caribbean and Latin America with enormous African ancestry develop identities that allowed people to acknowledge being dark or mixed while rejecting the American category black?
Cause they ain't want me no black.
Asking whether they're black genetically.
Cause they wanna be other. They wanna claim I'm Dominican, me no black. I'm Dominican, me no black. But you know you had them folks over there. You ain't got no say in the race either. Let me mark you down, Dominicans. Shut your asses up too. You understand me? You over there proclaiming everything else, still got problems in the Dominican Republic. Didn't want to claim no black. And we already know when y'all be slick talking because you think I can talk a Spanish. Me a speak a Spanish. When y'all say nigga, we know y'all asses talking about us because y'all use it as defining color. Why you, hey, Bobby, come here. Why you bring that nigga over here? We know you ain't talking about us as a Negro, as being born here, and they reclassified us Indians and indigenous folks. You ain't referring to that. You referring to, you use Negro as color, as an insult. Keep y'all asses over there. You ain't got no say over this FBA fight. You understand? Okay? No say at all. Look, yeah, I done talked about that coon, that tap dancing Bojangles over there. He don't get no shine on this educational series right here. He can take his Spanish speaking, me no black ass up out of here. You know what I'm saying? He gets no shine over here because he already know he's a coon sellout tap dancing YouTuber. They try to, 1 minute he black, 1 minute he, what is he, what the hell he, let me get it, Panamanian. He get no shine, that coon tap dancer. I built my platform on my own, slow walked it, and I will continue to slow walk this platform. You understand? No, you know, hate. I'll slow walk this doggone platform. Show you right, ain't never bought, nah, light view, none of that. And he can't never have no props or no nothing about him doing nothing to help my platform. What? That coon tap dancing sellout can stay his ass over there. For all I care. That's what's up. Look here, Dominicans, y'all sellouts too. And I'm talking to the ones that you know who you are. Don't want to be considered me no black. You Dominicans. You Puerto Ricans, me no black. You Panamanians, me no black. Only want to be black when it's like you can put on a costume, take it on and take it off. No, partner. Go take care of what's going down in Panama. Go take care of what's going on in Dominican. Go handle the business in Puerto Rico while y'all still got classism over there. While y'all still racist amongst your own people. You ain't got nothing to say about FBA. You understand? Okay, I hope you understand that. Nothing to say over here in our business. in our business. Shut your ass up. Keep it pushing, but we don't need you. Shoot. Y'all needed us. You understand? Let me see. Did I get everybody on the list? Let me go down. Let me go down. Let me go down. As I'm doing this, go ahead. Get the thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, okay? Did she talk about thumbs up? Subscribe to the channel today. Give me a comparison. Okay, give me a comparison of all these nations that we talked about. And I believe, did we get Ghanaians in here? Did we get the Ghanaians in here? I don't think we did. You know, they kept messing with a sister. Hold on. Oh, no, here we go. Now, the Ghanaians. Because you know that Ghanaian president came over here trying to holler about he here for the Americans' reparations. He trying to, be the representation. Why they always complaining about Ben Crump and civil rights activists is in America. They Ghanaian president had the balls to come over here a couple of months ago talking about he here because he want to represent Americans, black Americans, in the reparation fight because they want some of the money for if you don't get your ass off of American soil. That's the Ghanaian president, y'all, came over here talking about he want to go visit the memorials of the black folks. And man, get your ass over. Y'all wasn't trying to come over here when people got sold over here 400 years ago. Take your Ghanaian ass on. Trying to get some money. That's what they money hungry.
Yes. Ghana is where the comparison changes dramatically. Ghanaian society generally does not have the same historical need to say, I'm Ghanaian, therefore I'm not black, that we saw in parts of Puerto Rico, Panama, and especially the Dominican Republic. But there is an important distinction between black, African, Ghanaian, and the old word Negro.
Yeah.
How does a Ghanaian generally view black?
Yeah, tell us.
A Ghanaian is ordinarily going to understand themselves primarily through nationality and ethnicity.
Really?
I am Ghanaian.
I'm Ghanaian. That's...
etc.
Come on.
Ghana's own census system emphasizes ethnicity, language, culture, and history, rather than dividing the population into American-style racial categories. Its 2021 census, for example, records major ethnic groups such as Akan, Molodagani, Ewe, and Gadeni. So if you ask somebody in Ghana, are you black? They can certainly say yes, but they may consider the question somewhat unnecessary because being African Ghanaian is the more immediate identity.
Oh, is it now? Yeah.
This is where we have to separate
what about the word nigger?
From modern Ghanaian usage.
They don't use it.
It was a major racial term used by Europeans and Americans to classify people of African descent. It is not the normal modern self-description of Ghanaian.
We know.
A Ghanaian today is much more likely to say African, Ghanaian, Akan, Ewe, Ga, etc.
Right.
Than Negro. And if an American walked up and called a Ghanaian a Negro, that could sound old-fashioned, foreign, or racially loaded, depending upon the person.
Really? Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting for your comparison.
It already is
Ghanaians
interesting.
do recognize black as a broader identity, connecting them to African Americans. Studying Ghana,
They're trying to be connected, huh?
How Ghanaians understand black Americans and blackness. One study describes contemporary Ghanaian interactions with African Americans as involving identification, admiration, resentment, respect, and sometimes indignation. And historically, Ghanaian newspapers were very engaged with the American Black freedom struggle. During the 1950s and 1960s, Ghanaian society followed racial conflict in America closely, and Ghanaian political and media figures frequently expressed solidarity with African Americans. So Ghana did not generally develop the same, I am Ghanaian, therefore I am not black equation that you see in some Latin American national identities. But Ghana has its own fascinating complication.
What is it?
Ghanaians can distinguish themselves from African Americans, even while acknowledging that both populations are black. It's more like, open quote,
what?
We're both black/African people, but we're not the same people.
A
Ghanaian may see themselves as Ghanaian/African, while seeing an African American as a distinct diaspora population with a particular American history. Researchers have found that Ghanaian attitudes toward African Americans can be complicated.
I bet it can.
Admiration, curiosity, identification, resentment, even perceptions of cultural difference can coexist. There's also a fascinating reversal of the pattern we've been discussing. Some Ghanaians have historically distanced themselves from the history of slavery.
Oh, really?
Ghana was one of the major regions involved in the Atlantic slave trade.
We know.
Researchers describe some Ghanaians as wanting to construct a modern black identity.
They not us.
Simultaneously distancing themselves from the stigma associated with enslavement. So look at the four societies we've discussed. Society, typical national identity, relationship to black. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican. Can distinguish Puerto Rican from black. Panama, Panamanian, historically complicated Afro-Panamanian West Indian distinctions, Dominican Republic, Dominican Hispanic, historically strong pressure to distinguish Dominican from Black Asian.
Yep.
Ghana, Ghanaian African ethnic group. Blackness generally isn't something that must be denied, and that's the key difference I think you're getting at. A Ghanaian doesn't need to become less Black in order to become Ghanaian. A Dominican, Puerto Rican, or Panamanian person could historically encounter a social system where saying I'm Black carried a meaning they didn't want attached to their national identity. Ghana developed under a completely different historical racial structure.
Oh, Lord, these
And
people.
there's another layer that I think you'll find
Shut the
very
hell
relevant
up.
to FBA. Ghanaians themselves don't necessarily see African Americans as simply Ghanaians who went to America. The historical experiences created a distinct African American people in the diaspora. Scholars studying
Did you hear that?
African American encounters
We different.
specifically discuss this tension between a shared Black identity and distinct national historical identities. So if your next question is, do Ghanaians consider African Americans to actually be African? Or do they see them as a separate Black people? That's where this gets really deep.
We already know. We don't even have to go deeper. Y'all see us as a separate people. All of y'all. You understand? All of you see us as a separate people. As you come to the building, get the hands up. We are on the journey for you to understand FBA and how these other nations got the mitigated gall to try to say something, try to have a horse in the damn race when they got problems of their own over in their native lands. Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, Dominicans, Guyanese. Y'all got problems in your own land, and none of y'all wants to be Black or associated as Black, or you use nigger as a color to be discriminatory when you see Black folks and you start speaking of Spanish. Huh? You don't want to incorporate us in your community. Y'all done went down there in New York and piled up in whatever, the Bronx, Queens, whatever corner of America. Y'all get y'all little communities together. Y'all be talking that shit in Spanish. Y'all be eating your curry goat. Ghanaians talking much noise that you ain't us, and we know that. So you ain't got no say so in FBA talking about what we gonna be classified as and what we gonna say about ourselves. You need to worry about your homeland and what you always want to be called. You want to be called a Dominican? You got doggone right. You got doggone right. So have several seats. Puerto Ricans, you want to be Puerto Rican when it's good for you. You got doggone right. You Puerto Rican. What else we got? Panamanian, you want to be Panamanian? Show you right. You Panamanian. Okay? See how easy that is? A Ghanaian, you right. You Ghanaian. You from Ghana. Show you right. Ain't nobody hating on it. But how the hell you think you gonna talk about African American? Well, I don't even want to say it because we not two continents. We are people. We are a nation right here on American soil. And we done let everybody and they doggone mama put us in a box and label us. Well, we here today to say we can label our damn self. And what you don't want that to happen because you want control. You want your Ghanaian president to come try to get a piece of the pie to help fix up Ghana with reparations from America. Ain't never tried to help no Black folks over here that they sold into slavery until 400 years passed. It make me just want to slap somebody. Slap somebody upside their head. And I'm trying to keep the peace. I'm trying to keep the doggone peace. These people know they crazy around here. Think they got something to say. Let me see what y'all saying down here. Some people know deep down, but the government has them tripping. Oh yeah, FBA been dealing with a lot in America for a very long time. That's right, for a very long time. But they want to come over here and try to say something, or they been over here, but you ain't been here long enough. Your people ain't even been here long enough. Okay? So we gonna keep the party going. Okay? We gonna keep the party going. Let me see here. Let's get it. So all these folks I done called to the classroom, shut it up. Now you can be an ally, but you better know what lane you supposed to stand in, and it's not in our business. You understand? You ain't got no say-so about what we call ourselves over here. Not today, not tomorrow, and not any other day. You worry about what you call yourself in your, you proud to be Puerto Rican, proud to be Panamanian, proud to be Dominican, and proud to be Ghana, and proud to be white. You worry about what you call your damn self. Okay, and let us worry about what we call ourselves that have been rocking in this country for centuries upon centuries, millennia. You better understand me. Millennia. You ain't you new over here. My mama was here a century ago. That was 100 years. We've been here 100 years plus. Shut it up. Okay. Let me see. Let me see where I want y'all to go with this, because they talk about FBA. Let's break it down for them about this FBA, because they talk about it's a code. They mad. They won't give it everything. They trying to name it again. It's a code. Look at it. They in a code. Trying to name it again. Shut your Panamanian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Ghanaian and white ass up. You understand? Shut your ass up. You ain't got nothing to say over here. Nothing at all about us. Okay, we name it how we want it. Okay, so let me see. Let me see where I need, hold on. I done got off my doggone place holder. Ain't got nothing to say. Always trying to be in our business. Mind the business that pay you. That's what you need to do. Mind the damn business that pay you. What it is, y'all want us to pay you. Okay, here we go. I want you to look up about the FBA. Okay? I'm gonna talk to my assistant now. I want to know. I want you to put this at the top of the list now. Okay? I want to know, do you have to be a member? Do you have to sign up to be FBA? This is going out to my assistant. Y'all go ahead and double tap the screen and share the live. Do you have to sign up to be FBA? Is there a membership? Do you get a card? Do you get a membership card for signing up for the FBA? Do you have to pay a fee to be in the FBA? Is there a leader? This is the main one right here. These questions I'm asking my assistant. She's going to break it down for us today, because we got liars on the internet street and everywhere else lying because they shake it in their damn boots, because they know once we delineate, it's over for them. It's over for them. They're going to have to stand on their own 2 feet. If you ain't with us, you against us. Okay? And is there a leader? Or is there some type of, are the FBA trying to take over the United States? Is there some type of takeover? You know, they're trying to take over I need to know. I want all of these answers at the top before you break down about any information about the FBA. And also, who coined the FBA? Okay, who named it? Where did it come from? Where did it originate from? They mad because they didn't give us the name. But I want to know where it originated from, okay? The person they think is a leader. I want to know if any of that exists, okay? That's what we asking my assistant ChatGPT, okay? Because we got all these foreigners that's mad, that's been over here benefiting, but they mad when the true folks who got real claims to America, they families go back over 400 years. And indigenous folks over here, we drawing the line in the damn sand. You understand? Let's go. Let's get it.
Yes. I looked into the current FBA landscape, including the sites presenting themselves as FBA resources, material associated with Tariq Nasheed, and newer organizations that explicitly organize around FBA identity. First, your questions, straight at the top. Where do I sign up to become an FBA? There is no universal FBA membership application.
Did you hear that?
It is presented by its principal proponents as a lineage ancestry designation.
There's no sign-up sheet.
Is there an official membership? No universal membership.
No membership.
There is a FBA organization that enrolls everyone. Do you get an FBA card? I found no universally recognized official
no
FBA
card.
card.
Okay.
Individual organizations may create their own memberships identification systems, but that would not make the card an official credential for all FBAs.
Oh, goodness.
Do you have to pay a fee to become FBA? No lineage fee.
No fee, baby.
Some FBA-related organizations, events, merchandise operations, or membership organizations can charge money, but that's different from paying to become FBA. Is there a leader? No universally recognized leader.
No leader. There's no leader, okay?
There is no designated leader, and that no individual speaks for all FBAs. Is Tariq Nasheed the leader? He is the person most strongly associated with creating/popularizing the term But the FBA sites themselves say he is not the leader of all FBA.
Not the leader.
Our FBA
He
is
just
trying
made
to
it
overtake the
popular.
United States. I found no credible evidence of an FBA-wide plan to militarily or forcibly overtake the United States. However, there are current FBA projects explicitly discussing self-governance, restoration, political organization, and even a proposed United States of Black America. That's something we should examine separately, rather than falsely equate it with an attempt to seize the U.S. government.
Right.
Now, the really important distinction, FBA is not one organization. That's the key to understanding almost everything you're going to see online. The principal FBA definition currently published at the FBA cultural site says FBA is a lineage-based designation,
Lineage.
not an organization or movement with a designated leader.
They don't want you to know your lineage.
FBA headquarters, submit an application, receive a government-recognized card, and become FBA. It's more comparable to saying, open quote, my family descends from the Black Americans whose ancestry was formed through the American system of slavery, emancipation, and the subsequent development of the Black American population. Close quote. The question is then whether your genealogy supports that claim.
Right.
Who coined FBA? This part is much clearer. Tariq Nasheed is generally credited with coining the term Foundation of Black America.
Coin, that's right.
Multiple sources identify him as the person who introduced the term, with the term appearing
But-
in his 2019 media activity. There's an important historical footnote, though.
What is
The
it?
idea behind lineage-specific Black American identity did not originate with Tariq Nasheed.
Exactly.
Before FBA, there was the ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery,
Exactly.
associated particularly with Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore.
Mm-hmm.
There has been considerable disagreement over the relationship between ADOS and FBA, including claims that Nasheed's FBA terminology was developed in the same political, intellectual environment. That's why I would not tell you that Nasheed invented the underlying concept of distinguishing U.S. slave-descended Black Americans from later immigrant populations. What he is generally credited with is coining/popularizing the specific name Foundational Black American. Is Tariq Nasheed the FBA leader? No, not in the
No.
formal organizational sense. This is where things can look confusing. Tariq Nasheed is arguably the most recognizable public promoter of the FBA concept, and he has built a substantial media ecosystem around it. His Hidden Colors films, books, social media broadcasts,
Yes.
FBA conferences, and merchandise have made him highly visible in the FBA space.
Right.
But the current FBA cultural site explicitly says, open quote, FBA has no designated leader, close quote, and its legal disclaimer says no single influencer, public figure, or individual speaks for all FBAs. So I characterize Nasheed as founder coiner plus major public advocate promoter rather than president leader of FBA. That's an important distinction.
Uh-huh.
Are there actual FBA organizations you can join? Yes, and this is where the situation gets confusing. Although FBA itself isn't a single membership organization, organizations built around FBA identity do exist.
Right.
For example, the Foundational Black Alliance explicitly describes itself as a civic and policy organization and says people can become members or volunteers. There are also other organizations using FBA terminology, including the Organization of Black American Unity, which describes its mission as unifying foundational Black Americans and pursuing social, economic, and political advancement. So, FBA identity, no universal membership. An
Right.
FBA organization may absolutely have membership, dues, officers, programs, etc. Those are two different things.
Two different things.
And then there's something new that you should know about.
Tell me about
This
it.
is probably the part you're going to want to investigate next.
Mhm.
I found a 2025 creative project called United States of Black America,
Okay.
USBA, that describes itself as a national framework for foundational Black Americans. Its website says the organization was founded July 5th, 2025, and it has an actual proposed
Brand new.
constitution, a concept of national identity, a stated capital of Chicago, and language about FBAs moving as a nation within a nation.
Right.
Its website also says it is not a political party and not a reparations payout program. So when you ask, open quote, are they trying to overtake America? Close quote, I wouldn't tell you yes, based on what I found. But I also wouldn't dismiss your question, because there is now an organized FBA project talking explicitly about nationhood, governance, a constitution, a capital, restoration zones, and self-determination. That's considerably different from simply saying, open quote, I'm a descendant of American slaves, close quote. And we should distinguish the older FBA identity promoted by Nasheed from newer organizations that are attempting to build actual political governance structures around FBA identity. One more important point.
What's
the current
that?
FBA cultural site itself says FBA is not a political organization and has no centralized doctrine or leadership. So if somebody on YouTube says, open quote, FBA believes X, close quote, you have to ask, which FBA organization or individual are you talking about? Because there is no single FBA authority whose statement automatically represents everybody who identifies as FBA. And that's going to be very important for the next part of your research, especially if you want to know whether FBA is primarily an ancestry classification, a cultural identity, a reparations movement, a political movement, or an emerging nation building project. Those are not necessarily the same thing.
All right. So for all y'all that don't want to do the research, I got you. I did it. Okay? So you don't have to listen to these folks lying. about FBA, okay? You have to listen to these people lying about Tariq Nasheed, saying he's the leader, because he's not. And if anybody knows, I remember him back in the day when he made the Hidden Color movies, all those different movies. He got a museum down in Los Angeles. These people so jealous and they pocket watch everybody. Who is Tariq Nasheed? Is he, okay, well I already asked, is he the leader of the group? But I want to know, who is he? Okay? Let's get that down. Let's break that down real quick. Just have that on the record. All right? Get the thumbs up as you come in the
I
building.
looked into him specifically, and there are two separate questions here. Is Tariq Nasheed the leader of FBA, and did he become wealthy because of FBA?
Right. They saying his money came
Is
from
Tariq Nasheed the leader of
FBA.
FBA? No.
That's a
Not in
lie.
the formal sense. The current FBA website explicitly says FBA is not an organization with a leadership structure, and that no individual speaks for all FBA.
Exactly.
However, Tariq Nasheed is the central public figure associated with the FBA label. He is a filmmaker, author, media personality, and
What?
commentator. And his own social media profile identifies him with FBA and directs people to the official FBA
Wow.
website. So I describe him as Tariq Nasheed, major promoter, public face of FBA, not president or formal leader of an FBA organization.
Right.
Hack 2. Did he get his wealth from FBA? No, that would be misleading. His career in income-producing activities began well before the
They
FBA
just
took on
lying on
the
this man.
Before FBA, Nasheed had already established himself as an author of dating relationship books, including The Art of Mackin' and a media personality, a documentary filmmaker.
Exactly.
His first Hidden Colors documentary came out in 2011. While the term foundational Black American is generally credited to him around 2019. So his financial history dates FBA by many years.
Right.
But FBA absolutely became part of his business ecosystem.
Right.
This is the part I want to investigate carefully if you're asking whether FBA itself has made him money. His current public-facing ecosystem includes FBA-related media, films, documentaries, books, merchandise, subscriptions, support, Patreon, FBA-related websites and media. His current Linktree, for example, directs followers to his films, Patreon, social accounts, the official FBA site, and merchandise. So I would not say, open quote, Tariq Nasheed got rich from FBA.
Exactly.
Close quote. There isn't reliable public financial documentation establishing that. But it is reasonable to say, open quote, Tariq Nasheed built a media career before FBA.
Exactly.
FBA subsequently became
Exactly.
an important part of the audience, branding, and commercial ecosystem surrounding his work.
Right.
Close quote. That's a much more defensible statement. One correction to something we discussed earlier, I also want to flag something important, because you asked me specifically about who coined FBA. There are conflicting claims online about the origin of the term. Some sources credit Nasheed with coining, popularizing foundational Black American, while other FBA-related sources make different historical claims about the terminology. The strongest straightforward biographical source I found identifies Nasheed as the person who coined the English language term in January 2019. So I wouldn't treat the question as completely settled without examining the earliest documented uses of the phrase in Islam. And if you're trying to understand whether FBA is actually a grassroots ancestry classification, or whether Tariq Nasheed created a movement/business around an already existing idea, that's a very worthwhile next investigation.
Right.
We can trace the term itself year by year, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and see who was using it before Nasheed and when his FBA
We know it wasn't him.
media operation
You already told us. We know he was building up his network through doggone the film that came out in 2011, Hidden Colors. He done wrote books. He done did a whole bunch of stuff that people don't want to give him credit for because they hating. Simple as that. They hating on this man and they don't want to give him credit for his work and how he earned his millions. Well, they need to get to work trying to earn their damn millions. You understand? So now we know FBA don't have a leader. Tariq Nasheed is not the leader, but also Tariq Nasheed did not get his wealth, his money off of the FBA. He's been around way longer than the FBA. Okay? So we got all of that established, and we got all this established with these Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Panamanians, Ghanaians, and racist white folks that's mad because they don't want black folks, indigenous black people who have their ancestors been over here 400 years plus. They don't want us to delineate and draw the line in the sand, because now when we delineate, these people over here are indigenous black folks to this land, and you Puerto Rican, and you Dominican, and you, just because you got dark skin, but you claim Puerto Rican, your parents is Puerto Rican, just got here a decade ago, just got here 1 century ago, that ain't long a damn enough. You ain't been in this land long enough. Comprende? Not compared to the people who has, their ancestors have been indigenous Indian and was brought on them doggone ships and been here 400 plus years. Those are the people. Those are the black people. The Negro that is indigenous. And that's where the line is being drawn in the sand. We are no longer going to let you ride the fence on when you want to be Dominican, when you want to be Puerto Rican over here in America, when you want to be Panamanian, when you want to be Ghanaian, when white folks, you know, that's different. Y'all just don't want us to get our nation together, honey. That's all y'all don't want, because then y'all know you can't not look at the paperwork when they talking about reparations stuff. Because it's a nation of people. You understand? It's a nation, not a color. Okay? Not all of the labels that you have given us. Okay? That's what they don't want. Because see, when it's a nation of people, then you can say, okay, nobody else can cosplay these people no more. So stand on business. Be proud of your Puerto Rican heritage. Be proud of your Panamanian heritage. Be proud of your Dominican, Ghanaian heritage. Don't come over here trying to ride the fence and cosplay over here. You understand? It's not going to happen. We delineating. We're going to say who is who over here in the Americas. And I'm talking about the black over here in America. We're going to say who is who today and any other day as this continues to progress. Okay, so let's see. I think I hit all the questions about these people who always got something to say about the FBA. But they want to rep their other heritage, such as Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, Ghanaian. And then we know the white man that wants to keep us in some kind of, I would have to say, psychosis of not knowing who we are as a people. They're the only ones that got a horse in the race as far as trying to be mad about FBA, be mad about black people, saying, not today. We drawing a line in the sand. Okay? We drawing a line in the doggone sand. As you come to the building, go ahead, get the thumbs up, double tap your screen. We almost done. We are almost out of here. I just want to tie this up and so that this can be a complete package. And if I need to come back and talk about this more, we can see where we left off at. Okay? Now, so we talked about Tariq Nasheed. He's not the leader. There's no membership card, no membership to join. And they're trying to take over the United States, as all these lies have been proclaiming. Tariq Nasheed has not made his money off of the FBA. He has made his money off of filmmaking, producing, coaching, his library, not his library, his museum, and all of these other factors, okay? Let me see. So, let's break down how they are trying to keep us from knowing who we are, because they have labeled us black indigenous people of America. And they have continued to try to label us. So we want to know who these $5 Indians are, okay? Because these are people who came in when they started doing the dolls rolls, and they had already labeled black people and taken away their identity, because it was indigenous black people here. The ones Columbus saw, he called them Indians. He called them Indians, honey. We want to know who the $5 Indians are, who the people that then came over here. Y'all know them as Eskimos, and those features y'all see with the braided hair and all that, they traveled over here and they labeled them as Indian. And they took the true Indian culture away from the blacks that were already here. I need to know about this. break it down for my people. They in a classroom today. ChatGPT, we need to get this information so these people can get educated, really, and stop listening to the nonsense that's being floated around on these internet streets by people who have agendas. Let's go.
Yes. I think I understand the three things you're connecting. One, the $5 Indian. White people who fraudulently got themselves placed on Native American rolls. Two, the people from the far north Bering Strait region who look Inuit or Eskimo-like and are identified as indigenous peoples of the Americas. Three, the historical changes in U.S. racial records from Indian, Negro, Black African American, and whether some people who were originally identified as Indian were later reclassified as Black. There is real history behind parts of all three, but there are also some claims circulating online that go considerably further than the documentary evidence. Let me separate them.
Go ahead.
One, the $5 Indian was a real thing.
Mhm.
This is not a myth. The
It's
term
not.
referred to people, particularly white people,
Mhm.
who allegedly paid about $5 corrupt officials or intermediaries.
Yep,
to
to
get false
steal the
Native
identity
American enrollment rolls,
from black
especially
folks.
during the Dawes era enrollment process in Indian Territory, Oklahoma. The purpose could be obtaining land allotments or other benefits associated with being recognized as Indian. Historical accounts describe fraudulent enrollment and corruption surrounding the Dawes rolls. The Dawes Act of 1887 divided tribal lands into individual allotments and created a government process for determining who qualified.
Right.
The Dawes Commission subsequently compiled rolls for the 5 civilized tribes: Cherokee, Chickasaw, Muscogee, and Seminole.
Yeah, that's
And here's
me.
something particularly
Uh-huh.
important. Not
Cherokee.
everyone who was legitimately Native American
Yeah.
ended up on the rolls.
I know.
Some Native people refused to register because they distrusted the government, while some questionable or fraudulent applicants got onto the rolls. So being on a Dawes roll isn't, by itself, an infallible genetic or historical test
We
of
know.
Native ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
Why this matters to your question: if someone today says, open quote, my ancestor was on the Dawes roll, therefore we're definitely Native American, close quote, that's not automatically conclusive. You want to know which roll, which tribe,
Which
what
tribe,
category,
paperwork,
documentation,
birth
and whether the
certificates.
tribal nation recognizes that lineage.
Yes, baby.
Number two, now the Eskimo-looking Indians from the north are features.
Mm-hmm.
Here we need to be very careful with terminology.
Right, I know.
The indigenous peoples of the Arctic include Inuit,
Inuit,
and Inupiat,
and
among
yeah,
others.
okay.
They are indigenous peoples of the Americas,
Mhm.
but they aren't simply another name for all American Indians. Their ancestors have a very old history in the Arctic and northeastern Asia.
We know.
The broader scientific picture is that the ancestors of most indigenous peoples of the Americas ultimately came from populations associated with Northeast Asia, with migration into the
Y'all hear that?
through the Beringian region.
Those
during the Ice Age.
Indians that look
But
like
the history isn't.
the-
Open quote.
woo,
Eskimos came across and
they
became
came
all
over here.
Close quote.
What's up,
That's
brainwaves?
just- There were multiple population movements and long periods of separation.
Let them know
and
he's
interaction.
there.
The ancestors of Arctic peoples and the ancestors of other indigenous American populations have related deep ancestry, but they also developed into distinct populations.
Right.
So if you're seeing somebody saying, open quote, the Indians came from the tundra, and therefore they aren't the original people of America, close quote, that conclusion doesn't follow. Indigenous doesn't mean a population has been genetically isolated in the Americas forever. Virtually every population has a deeper migration history. Number three,
Come with it.
now your most interesting question. Indian, Negro, Black.
Come on.
There really was historical reclassification.
Come on, say it
But
again.
this needs to be distinguished from the much bigger claim that Black Americans were systematically Indians who were simply renamed Negro.
Break it down
The
for them
documented
then.
evidence proves the first statement, but does not by itself prove the second.
We know. Come
Look at
on.
what the federal census actually did.
I know. Come on.
Early
Come on.
U.S. censuses. The 1790 census didn't have today's racial categories. It primarily distinguished free white people, enslaved people, other free people. By 1850 to 1860, census categories included Black and mulatto, and in 1860, Indian was added as a racial category. Then the terminology kept changing. 1850, open quote, Black, mulatto, close quote. 1860, open quote, Indian added, close quote. 1870, open quote, Black, mulatto, Indian, close quote. 1890, open quote, Black, mulatto, quadroon, octoroon, Indian, close quote. 1900, open quote, Black, Negro terminology appears, close quote. 1930, open quote, Negro, close quote. 1970, open quote, Negro or Black, close quote. 1980 to 1990, open quote, Black or Negro, close
Yep.
quote. 2000, open quote, Black, African American,
Come on with it.
close quote. The census eventually dropped Negro from its racial category.
I know it did, but I got it on my birth certificate.
Number four. But here's the really important piece about Indian plus Black.
What is
The
it?
federal government did not always treat Indian and Black ancestry as mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
The 1930 census instructions specifically addressed people who had both. They instructed census takers
Who had
that
what?
someone who was part
Both.
Indian and part Negro
What?
was generally to be classified as Negro, unless
That
the
would be
Indian
me.
ancestry predominated
That would be me.
and the person was
Negro.
accepted as Indian in the community. That's a very important historical document. It means that a person with Native and African ancestry
Uh-huh.
could be placed into the Negro category by the government,
What?
even though that person had Indian ancestry.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
same basic principle continued into the 1960
Hold on.
census.
Hold on. She need to get a hand clap for that. Thank you. Thank you. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Nigga. We don't use it as a term of an insult like some of you Spanish-speaking you ones that's over here, Dominicans and Panamanians, y'all use nigga as a color. When y'all think y'all slick trying to talk about us when we walk into the bodega. Nigga. But over here, that's because they changed our indigenous heritage. You understand? And mixture of my ancestors that came on the boat. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Hannah. All right? And my Indian, which was another name y'all gave us, ancestors, Cherokee, shout out to Cherokee Nation. My mixture, they named us Nigga. And they put it on my birth certificate. Now you got to have all this stuff when you start digging for your heritage. And they want you to know who you are. I'm trying to tell you. Let's keep it going.
But it really was a mechanism that could move someone's recorded racial identity toward Negro. But notice what the document doesn't say. It doesn't say, open quote, all Indians are actually Negroes.
No.
Close quote. It says, open quote, when a person had both Indian and Negro ancestry, government enumerators had rules determining which racial category to assign. Close quote. That's a very different proposition. Number 5, and this gets even more interesting with the one-drop rule. The 1930 census instructions stated that someone with any white and Negro ancestry was to be recorded as Negro, regardless of how small the African ancestry was. That demonstrates something extremely important. The government wasn't simply recording biology, it was imposing racial classifications.
Right.
And those classifications changed. That's why I would be very cautious about looking at an old census record that says, open quote, Negro, close quote, and assuming, open quote, that person's ancestors were always classified as Negro, close quote. No, the categories and rules themselves changed.
Right.
Number 6, could some people who are called Black today have Native ancestry? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's no controversy about that.
No controversy about it.
And individuals with both ancestries. Some historical communities became known as Black Indians, and Native nations had long-standing relationships.
Show you right.
Marriage, adoption, enslavement, alliance, and conflict with Africans and African Americans.
Show you right.
The census rules themselves demonstrate that the government encountered people who were both Indian and Negro. So
That would be me.
Says, open quote, my Black ancestors also had Native ancestry. Close quote. That is entirely plausible and can sometimes be documented through genealogy. But that's different from saying, open quote, Black Americans as a whole were originally Native Americans and were renamed Negro. Close quote. That's a much larger historical claim. And the census records I've examined do not establish that. And here's the part I think you're really looking for. There are actually 3 different kinds of identity change that can get mixed
That'll be
together.
you two brainwaves.
A, a
Awesome.
change in
That's what's
terminology.
up.
Colored, Negro, Black, African American. That unquestionably happened.
Right.
B, a change in government classification. Someone with mixed ancestry could be classified differently depending upon the census year and the enumerator's instructions. That also unquestionably happened. C, a change in the actual ancestry of the population. That's a completely different question. A census label changing from Indian Negro does not automatically prove that the person's underlying ancestry changed. You need genealogy, tribal records, birth death records,
Hello.
treatment records,
Treatment
census
records.
schedules, land
Come on.
records, community histories, etc. to establish
Bibles,
that.
old Bibles.
That's
They used to write down family trees
There's a
in,
very
honey.
specific historical rabbit hole that may be exactly what you're looking for.
Uh-huh.
Black people appearing as Indian in earlier records and later appearing as Negro in subsequent records.
Right.
Rather than arguing about the theory, we can find actual families and actual census records
Oh,
where
I
the same
know.
person or family was recorded differently across decades.
I know.
We could examine 1800s record, Indian, later record, mulatto, later record, Negro, later record, Black, and then determine why the classification changed.
Because they want to confuse a
The
nation
one-drop rule,
of people.
marriage, community identity, an enumerator's decision, or an actual change in how the family identified itself.
Keep land.
That would give us hard documentation
Still land.
rather than internet claims.
That's what it's up. That's what's up. Now let me see something real quick. So while they over here mad because they telling you look into what and who you are as a people. Don't just let these governments keep changing your name Black, Indian, Black, nigger to African American so they can confuse a nation of people. When your ancestors might have been from over them waters known as prisoners of war, some of them call them slaves, and indigenous Black people were here that were Indian. Cherokee is a whole bunch of different Indian tribal names. Can't name them all. They don't want you to know that this land right here is our land, okay? And especially because if you had your ancestors was over there, you can't have no Indian. You can't. But 400 years you've been over here. They ain't got nothing to say. Your ancestors was over here 400 years, baby. You got no horse in the race. I don't care if your ancestors been here for a century. We've been here for 4 centuries. 400 years. Come on now. These people mad as hell. They need to go sit down somewhere. We can be called FBA if we want to. And like I said, if the name changed and we agree to it, we agree to it. Because we are in control of this boat. We riding. We got the wheel. We driving. So let me continue so we can get on out of here. I wanted to see something. Let me see. Go down here. Go ahead, get the thumbs up, y'all. I sure appreciate everybody who came through. You know they kept messing with the live stream. Everybody dropped out, but y'all put the thumbs up in there for me, baby. I sure appreciate that. Okay, so we was I asked about the $5 Indians, so y'all know it's a fact. If you can look it up, it was white folks that paid $5 to say they was Indians so they could steal the land from the indigenous black folks here. Okay? We already looked it up that the people from the tundra came over here, the ones y'all think that are Indians, that y'all got that brainwashed in y'all head, those folks with the pale skin and the ponytails, y'all think those are from the tundra. Okay? Those are the ones that you today consider the Indians. But if you look and you research, they're kicking them off of those reservations because the government is coming in and saying, you are not the real Indians. Get off these reservations. That's a fact. Look it up. Okay? And that's going on to this day, 2025. They're kicking them off because they are not the true people. All right? So I need to know about Texas. I want to ask about Texas. Because, she named a couple of other places. We need to put Texas in the mix, too. With these, you look it up to where these Indians, so-called Indians. I don't even like to say Indians anymore because they didn't change the name. And they said Indians. Y'all know who gave the name Indians to the people that was already here? You already know. So let's get this. Let me add this to the bunch. We probably get one more question.
I added Texas, and the evidence gets much stronger when we separate actual historical records from the broader claim that Indians were renamed Negroes. The short version is, open quote, we can document cases in which people of indigenous and African ancestry were classified differently by government enumerators over time.
We know.
We can also document black communities in Texas living within or alongside Native communities.
Mm-hmm.
But the records do not support the blanket conclusion that black Americans generally were formerly Indians who were simply relabeled Negro.
Mm-hmm.
Close quote. Number 1. The federal rules really could change how a person was classified. This is the strongest evidence. In 1900, census instructions recognized both B, Black, Negro, and N, Indian, as separate categories. The Indian schedule also collected tribe, parental tribal affiliation, and whether the person was full or mixed blood. In 1910, enumerators could record white, black, mulatto, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, other. In 1920, the same basic categories remained, including black, mulatto, and American Indian. Then came the major change in 1930. The 1930 rule is extremely important. The Census Bureau instructed, open quote, a person with mixed Indian and Negro ancestry was to be recorded as Negro.
Negro!
Indian ancestry predominated, and the person was accepted as Indian by the community.
Mm-hmm.
Close quote. That's an actual federal instruction,
Mm-hmm.
not an internet theory.
Come on with
Imagine
it.
a family where the grandparents were known locally as Indian, but their descendants had African and Indian ancestry. Under the 1930 rules, those descendants could end up recorded as Negro rather than Indian. And there was another element, community acceptance. The government wasn't relying exclusively on ancestry. Whether the community regarded someone as Indian could affect the classification. Number 2, Texas makes this especially interesting.
What?
Texas has a very old history of African people living among indigenous communities.
Mm-hmm.
The Texas State Historical Association says that blacks accompanied Spanish expeditions into Texas, and that it was not uncommon for people of African and mixed ancestry to be living within Indian communities. That's important because it means African plus indigenous ancestry in Texas isn't something that suddenly appeared in the 20th century. It goes back hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years.
The Texas State Library also has extensive records for African American genealogy, including slave records, Freedmen's Bureau records, county records, and other materials that can be used to reconstruct individual families.
Come
Number
on.
3, here's an actual Texas
Look for
example.
your family members.
Seminoles. This is where your question becomes particularly interesting. There were black Seminoles in Texas. The Seminole population that came to Texas had roots in Florida and included people of African and Seminole ancestry. They became associated with communities around Brackettville and Fort Clark in Kinney County, and we can actually see them in the census. One documented family is James July's family. In 1900, James July was living at Fort Clark, Kinney County, Texas. In 1910, he and people around him were recorded as black Indians, and the 1910 census identified them as Seminole. That's an important real-world example because it demonstrates something that the broad Indian Negro claim can obscure. A person could simultaneously have an African identity and an Indian Seminole identity, and the government could classify that person differently depending upon the census and circumstances. Number 4, Texas records also show how complicated the categories were.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Texas Almanac reproduces federal census statistics showing the racial categories used in Texas from 1850 through 1940. Texas was recorded primarily as white and Negro in the early censuses, while Indian and other categories appear separately later. And there is a particularly interesting historical complication.
What is it?
Texas had Spanish, Mexican, indigenous, and African populations interacting long before Anglo-American Texas existed. A 1783 Spanish census of settlements in Texas, for example, recorded Spaniards, Indians, mestizos, people described as having varying degrees of African ancestry. So if we're investigating Texas ancestry, we cannot simply start with the 1870 U.S. Census and assume that's where everyone's identity began. Number 5, here's the timeline we're looking at. This is the pattern I would use when examining an actual family. Before 1850, a person could appear in Spanish Mexican Texas records as Indian, mestizo, mulatto, negro, mixed, other local classifications. The terminology wasn't standardized the way modern Americans sometimes assume. 1850, the federal census used white, black, mulatto, but Indian wasn't yet a general category in the census population schedule. 1860, Indian was added as a federal census racial category, although the federal government still did not count all Native people equally, particularly those living outside settled, civilized communities. 1870, 1890. The government increasingly differentiated white, black, mulatto, Indian, and in 1890 even used black, mulatto, quadroon, octoroon, Indian. Those categories were based on the enumerator's assessment of ancestry color, not necessarily the person's own modern understanding of identity. 1900 to 1920, Indian and black remained separate categories. The government also collected much more information about Indian ancestry and tribal affiliation. 1930, this is the major turning point. The government eliminated mulatto and established much stricter rules. Indian plus Negro, generally Negro, unless Indian ancestry predominated and the person was recognized by the community as Indian. 1940 to 1950, the government continued using rules that could place people of mixed Indian-Negro ancestry into the Negro category. The 1950 census specifically explained that the Negro category included people of mixed Indian and Negro parentage,
Right.
unless Indian ancestry very definitely predominated or the person was accepted as Indian in the community. Later decades, the terminology gradually moved toward Negro, Black, Black African American, and the census eventually stopped using
Boy, I
Negro because
tell
it
ya.
had become offensive to many people. Number 6, but here's the distinction I don't want us to lose.
Come on with it.
Suppose we find this: 1910, Indian; 1920, Indian; 1930, Negro; 1940, Negro; 1950, Negro; 1960, Negro; 1970, Black. That is very interesting evidence of a change in recorded racial classification, but it doesn't automatically tell us why it happened. There are several possibilities. Possibility A, mixed ancestry. The person really had both indigenous and African ancestry, and the 1930 rule pushed the
And
classification.
I just want to stop it there with Texas. I found out when she broke that down, she said in the 70s they stopped using Negro and put black. Not on my birth certificate. It still says Negro. Okay? And that's because they was using, if you was mixed with Indian and indigenous, I like to say, and your ancestor came over there on that boat, prisoner of war, aka slaves, most likely they called you nigger. Okay? So all kind of ways that you can figure out who you are, FBA, and keep these others out of our business. Out of our business. They need to worry about Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. They need to worry about Panama. They need to worry about Guyana. Okay? And white folks, they just need to stay on up out of the prejudiced ones. Need to stay on up out of our business. Y'all done reclassified us enough. Step back, Jack. step back. All right? So I'm going to round this out because people say, well, my folks been here for a generation. I need to break down generations and centuries for y'all. So ChatGPT, let's break it down for them so they can understand they ain't been here longer damn enough. Let's go.
Sure. The key is that a generation and a century measure different things. Generation is the average span of time between the birth of parents and the birth of their children. Roughly 20 to 30 years is commonly used for a generation. It can vary depending on the context. Example, if your great-grandparents lived in 1900, several generations could have passed between them and you. Century. A century is exactly 100 years. Planning, 1 century equals 100 years, 2 centuries equal 200 years, 4 centuries equals 400 years. So what is 400 years? 400 years equals 4 centuries, but it's also approximately 13 to 20 generations, depending on whether you use a 20, 25, or 30-year generation. For example, measure, length, 1 generation will allot to 20 to 30 years, 1 century, 100 years, 4 centuries, 400 years, 400 years, 13 to 20 generations. Why this matters when talking about people being on land for 400 years. If someone says, open quote, my people have been on this land for 400 years, close quote, they're talking about continuous historical presence over 4 centuries. They're not saying that one person lived for 400 years or that one generation lasted 400 years. Instead, imagine generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, generation
Come on with it.
generation 16. The people change from generation to generation, while the family community remains in the same geographic area. So when we're discussing Black Americans, Indigenous Americans, or any other population, and someone says their ancestors have been in a particular place for 400 years, the important question becomes, open quote, which generations were there and what records identify those generations? Close quote. That's why 400 years of documented continuous presence is a very different claim from simply saying, my ancestors were here a long time ago.
Hello. And a lot of you Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, Dominicans, and Guyanese, y'all ain't been here and y'all can't go back more than one, not even a century. Y'all might got a decade or two. Okay? You might go back one generation, roughly 20 or 30 years. But half of y'all know y'all can't do a whole century of y'all people being here. So y'all ain't got no horse in this race. Y'all need to sit down, be quiet, and have several seats. Comprende? You have no horse in the race. So we want to say FBA, we can do that because we reclaiming how we will be acknowledged. Okay? Y'all had y'all go. Y'all had a good run. Y'all had a good run now. Cosplaying, doing all that craziness. But it's over. The time is up. You can go sit in your corner and represent who you want to represent. But you ain't going to tell us what the hell to do over here. And our people been in this land over 400 years. When you got a generation that only been here, you want to talk to us about who and what we are, try to call us a racist group and all this. Sit your rabbit ass down. I forgot to put the Jamaicans in here. Because some of y'all Jamaicans be acting stupid too. If you rock with us, you rock with us. But stay in your lane. You will not tell grown-ass people who they are as a people when we know who we are. And we telling you we know. All right? I'm out of here. Y'all have a good evening. And much love.